Whether you're brand new to Arc Raiders or several hours in, you know the importance of Scrappy. He's a scavenger chicken that gathers basic crafting materials for you during your raid. Leveling him up makes him more efficient, resulting in more and more resources for your stash. It's basically passive income, which is why you should prioritize leveling him up. This is everything you're going to need, and today I'm going to help you do that by breaking down the best way to get every item. As of launch, Scrappy's max level is 5, and getting him to level 2 requires a dog collar. The game says that it's found in residential areas, but it's a little misleading. I spent hours scavenging Pale Apartments and Ruby Residence on the first map with no luck. So I tried the Grandioso Apartments and Santa Maria houses on Buried City and still came up empty. I ended up finding my first one in a locker at the testing annex on Battlegrounds, which seemed kind of random. But later on, I found a few more in lockers and drawers, which tells me it's more about the container than the area. So focus less on specific areas and more on residential containers like lockers and drawers to have the best chance. It's going to be a bit of a grind, but the good news is that it does get easier from here. Level 3 requires 3 lemons and 3 apricots, and Olive Grove on Blue Gate is easily the best spot to get them. In Olive Grove, you'll find these trees that have both lemons and apricots on the ground next to them. You can also interact with most of these trees, which basically kicks them and forces another drop. The smaller trees can spawn both apricots and lemons, but there are also bigger trees that do the same thing for olives. You only need 3 lemons and apricots for level 3, but you'll need 6 olives and an additional 12 apricots for later levels. So if you want to save yourself some time, I'd farm Olive Grove until you get 3 lemons, 15 apricots, and 6 olives. It's already a pretty contested area with other raiders, and it'll only get worse as more people find out. So you either want to hop in with a free loadout to minimize risk or bring a normal loadout with adrenaline shots. This will make it so you can sprint non-stop from spawn and have the best chance of getting there before everyone else. If you do run into other raiders, you can either fight for it all or negotiate your way into part of the loot. In this raid, a duo walked up on me in a free loadout, so I gave them an olive and walked away with the rest. You should easily be able to do this in a couple hours, but if it gets more contested, it might take a little longer. Once you have the 3 lemons and apricots, Scrappy will be level 3 and only have 2 more levels to go. Level 4 requires 6 prickly pears, 6 olives, and 1 cat bed. If you don't already have 6 olives from the prior step, just rinse and repeat until you have 6. Prickly pears are a random spawn underneath cacti, and because they're random, it's a little more tricky. You can't kick a cactus, so your only option is to check underneath every cactus you see. I did, however, make a mini cactus farming run that should yield 1 to 2 pairs per raid. Start by running to this spot on the map in between West Broken Ridge and Ruby Residence on Dom Battlegrounds. There's a couple dozen cacti here, and I almost always left with at least 1 pair after checking them all. Next, you want to run west to check in front of Ruby Residence and the Pale Apartments. There's a few cacti in front of each of these POIs, and usually one of those has a pair as well. While you're doing this, I also recommend checking this log close by for a potential mushroom spawn. We'll dig into mushrooms more shortly, but even if you get 1 or 2 during this part, you will thank me later. Again, none of these spawns are guaranteed, but you'll probably walk out with 1 to 2 pairs per raid. The best loadout is a normal loadout with adrenaline shots again, but free loadouts work fine for this as well. Once you have 6, the last thing you'll need is a cat bed, which is a green trinket. I believe it's classified as a residential item like the dog collar, but much easier to find. I engineered a super easy run on Buried City to farm this, as well as some extra money in the process. Spawn in with your free loadout or adrenaline shots and run straight to the northeast part of Hospital. There's usually a roller on the ground floor, so watch out for that, then head up the stairs on your left. Once you get to the 2nd floor, take a left down the hallway and go in the last room on your left. Here you'll find 5 to 6 lockers that are juiced with various trinkets, including the cat bed and pillows. Once you loot all 5, you can run back to the ground floor and directly into a metro for extract. Rinse and repeat this farming run until you get a cat bed and 3 pillows. Now that you have Scrappy to level 4, you're on the home stretch and the nightmare begins. Level 5 requires 12 mushrooms, 12 apricots, and 3 very comfortable pillows. Assuming you got the apricots and pillows in prior steps, all you need is 12 mushrooms. But that's where the good news ends, because mushrooms are an absolute pain in the ass. Mushrooms are like pears in the sense that none of the spawns are guaranteed. But what makes them even worse is that their spawns are way more spread out and heavily contested. They can spawn on various logs, trees, and inside the hydroponic domes, but it's definitely a grind. Looking at your map, you can see some logs like this one here, which is one of the potential spawns. There's another log exactly like this right next to the fuel depot right in the middle of the dome complex. And another one northwest of the complex pretty close to the cactus spawns I mentioned earlier. Once you check all these spots, head to the swamp elevator to the southwest. I did randomly find a couple mushrooms on the trees surrounding the elevator, so they're worth checking, but be careful. That entire area is littered with arcs and other raiders, and it's risky to say the least. You can do this with free loadouts, but I highly recommend bringing in a normal loadout with utility, specifically adrenaline shots to keep running, a ferro or anvil to shoot arcs as needed, and smoke grenades. Smokes are arguably the best utility in the game because of their versatility. You can obviously use them to help extract, but you can also use them to get out of sticky situations. And with how contested this part of the map can get, you want as much utility as you can to get out. If you have some hatch keys in your stash, this is a great time to bring those as well. That way, if you have a really good run with 2 or even 3 mushrooms, you can basically guarantee an extract. But to be completely honest, you're going to come up empty half the time and only get 1 or 2 on a good raid. Lush Bloom modifier does double the spawn rate, so you definitely want to take advantage of that when you can. But honestly, get ready for 3 to 5 hours of anxiety-fueled running before you finally get all 12. Once you do though, you'll have level 5 Master Hoarder Scrappy and never run out of basic crafting materials again.